Do you need some advice? Have you lost your mojo? Do you need some help with a problem? You can email chris@learndeveloplive.com. And let's smash it together.
From London, England, where the Queen lives.
Recorded live from an underground bunker and packaged into an MP3 with a pretty little picture. Helping bring you the motivation, inspiration, and some other stuff to help kickstart your day. Hoo-yah! This is the Learn, Develop, Live podcast. And this is your host, Chris Jaggs.
Join the motivation. Join the motivation.
Happy Monday to you. My name is Chris Jaggs, and I'd like to personally welcome you to the latest weekly episode of the Learn, Develop, Live podcast. How in the world are you doing today? Now, before we get started, I've already said it on the 1 minute of motivation earlier, which I hope you've downloaded already or listened to, but a big happy birthday to my fantastic brother Paul. I know your ego will be loving a mention and just how will you get your head out the door, but happy birthday, dear. This is episode 16 of the weekly podcast. Hey, the Daily Motivators are now in the 80s, and Something for the Weekend has got its 13th episode out, and so much content going out, and I hope it's helping you. Out of interest, how did we meet between the podcast and yourself? Does it help motivate and inspire you? Hopefully, that was the idea. And if so, has it helped you try something new or be brave and jump into something? I'm here for you. How can I help you? So while you think about that, and think about how I can help you, and I'll give it a try if you want to take that first step. Back in episode 10, I share with you some very short inspirational stories from a feature on the wealthygorilla.com website. So a shout out to them again, and if you can, go look at the website. Plenty of good stuff on there. So there was a moral to each of the short stories, and after some feedback, a few did hit home, a bit emotionally actually. I think the main story that really hit people was about the blind girl who wanted to see the world. Her boyfriend, who adored her, who wasn't blind himself, donated his eyes so she'd be able to see the world, and then she just dumped him after he proposed to her because he was blind. That's a true story, and the moral of that was that when circumstances change for some people, so do people's mindsets. The circumstance that people had, they take for granted. So a lot of people really found the story quite emotional, and I've had another load of short stories for you in this episode. There's hopefully a few that, they make you think twice about stuff once you hear them. The moral for each story it might be irrelevant to you, it might not. It might remind you of something that you have going on in your own life, and if it makes you think, well, maybe you'll look at a different approach to that part of your life. Who knows? The choice really is yours. Right then, onwards, as I would say. The first story is about a group of frogs and encouragement, something that we all need, don't we? As a group of frogs were travelling through the woods, two of them fell into a deep pit. When the other frogs crowded around the pit and saw how deep it was, they told the two frogs that there was no hope left for them. However, the two frogs decided to ignore what the frogs were saying, and they proceeded to try and jump out of the pit. Despite their efforts, the groups of frogs at the top of the pit were still saying, just give up, you're not going to make it out. Eventually, one of the frogs did just that. Listening to what the others were saying, he gave up, falling down to his death. The other frog, though, continued to jump as hard as he could. Again, the crowd of frogs yelled at him, stop the pain, just die. A bit harsh. He jumped even harder and finally made it out. When he did get out, the other frogs did say, did you not hear us? The frog explained to him that he was actually deaf. He thought they were actually encouraging him the entire time. The moral of the story is people's words have a big effect on other people's lives. Think about what you say before it comes out of your big mouth. It might just be the difference between life and death, literally. Our next story is about honesty, and it's a tale about a baker and a farmer. There was a farmer who sold a pound of butter to a baker. One day the baker decided to weigh the butter, and he wanted to see if he was getting the right amount, and he wasn't. Angry about this, he took the farmer to court. Seems a bit extreme. The judge asked the farmer if he is using any measurement to weigh the butter. The farmer replied, "Honour, I am primitive. I don't have a proper measurement, but I do have a scale." The judge asked, "Then how do you weigh the butter?" The farmer replied, "Your Honour, long before the baker started buying butter from me, I've been buying a pound loaf of bread from him. Every day when the baker brings the bread, I put it on the scale and I give him the same weight in butter. If anyone's to blame, it's the baker." The moral of the story? Well, in life, you get what you give. Don't try and cheat others. The next short story, and they really are short, aren't they? This is called Obstacle in Our Path, and it's about opportunity. So, in ancient times, I love that, ancient times. Anyway, sorry, let's carry on. A king had a boulder placed on a roadway. He then hid himself and watched to see if anyone would move the boulder out of the way. Some of the king's wealthiest merchants and couriers came by and simply walked around it. Many people loudly blamed the king for not keeping the roads clear, but none of them did anything about it. None of them wanted to get the stone out of the way. A peasant then came by carrying a load of vegetables. Upon approaching the boulder, the peasant laid down the basket and tried to push the stone out of the road. After much pushing and straining, he finally succeeded. After the peasant went back to pick up his vegetables, he noticed a purse laying on the road where the boulder had been. The purse contained many gold coins and a note from the king explaining that the gold was for the person who removed the boulder from the roadway. The moral of this story is, with every obstacle we come across in life, it gives us an opportunity to improve our circumstances. And whilst the lazy complain, there are others creating opportunities through their kind hearts, generosity and willingness to get things done. Next tale is controlling your temper. Once there was a little boy who had a very bad temper. You know plenty of those. His father decided to hand him a bag of nails and said every time the boy lost his temper, he had to hammer a nail into the fence. On the first day, the boy hammered 37 nails into that fence. The boy gradually became to control his temper, and over the next few weeks, fewer nails were being added to the fence. The boy finally started to control his temper. Finally, the day came when the boy didn't lose temper at all. He told his father the news, and the father suggested that the boy should pull out every nail out to help control his temper. Days passed, and the young boy was finally able to tell his father that all the nails were gone. The father took his son by the hand and led him to the fence. "You have done well, my son, but look at the holes in the fence. The fence will never be the same. When you say things in anger, they leave a little scar just like this one. You can put a knife into a man and draw it out. It won't matter how many times you say, 'I'm sorry,' the wound is still there." The moral of the story, control your anger and don't say things to people in the heat of the moment that you may later regret. Some things in life you're just unable to take back. Now we're going to go on the last two stories, and they are the last two stories for a reason. And they gave me a reaction, and when you really think about the meaning of them, maybe they'll do the same to you. But let's test those heartstrings, shall we? Our story is called Puppies for Sale. A shop owner placed a sign above his door that said, "Puppies for sale." Signs like this always had a very attractive way of getting young children to come in, and to no surprise, a boy saw the sign and approached the owner. "How much are you going to sell those puppies for?" he asked. The store owner replied, "Anywhere from $30 to $50. The little boy pulled out some change from his pocket. "I have $2.37, he said. "Can I please have a look at them?" The shop owner smiled and whistled. Out of the kennel came a lady, who ran down the aisle of the shop and followed by 5 teeny balls of fur. One puppy was lagging considerably behind. Immediately the little boy singled out the lagging, limping little pup and said, "What's wrong with that little dog?" The shop owner explained that the veterinarian had examined the little puppy and discovered that it didn't have a hip socket and it would always limp. The little boy became excited. "That is the puppy I want to buy." The shop owner said, "No, you don't want to buy that little dog. If you really want him, I'll give him to you for nothing." The little boy started to get upset. He looked straight into the shop owner's eyes, pointed his finger and said, "I don't need to give him to me for free. That little dog is worth every bit as much as the other dogs, and I'll pay full price. In fact, I'll give him my $2.37 now, and 50 cents a month until I've paid for him." The shop owner countered, "You really don't want this little dog. I he's never going to be able to run or jump or play like the other puppies." To his surprise, the little boy reached down and rolled up the pant leg to reveal a badly twisted, crippled left leg supported by a big metal brace. He looked up at the shop owner and softly said, "Well, I don't run so well myself, and the little puppy will need someone who understands." Boom! What a story. I don't need to talk about the morale for that one. I think if you're smart enough, you'll understand it. Right, final story, and this one's called Box for the Kisses. Now, some time ago, a man punished his 3-year-old daughter for wasting a roll of gold wrapping paper. Money was tight, and he'd become infuriated when the child tried to decorate a box to put under the Christmas tree. Nevertheless, the little girl brought the gift to her father the next morning and said, "This is for you, Daddy." The man became embarrassed by his overreaction earlier, but his rage continued when he saw that the box was empty. He yelled at her, "Don't you know when you give someone a present there's meant to be something inside?" The little girl looked up at him with tears in her eyes and cried, "Oh, Daddy, it's not empty at all. I blew kisses into the box. They're all for you, Daddy." The father was crushed, and I think any father would be crushed. I know I would. He put his arms around his little girl and he begged her for forgiveness. Only a short time later, an accident took the life of the child. Her father kept the gold box by his bed for many years, and whenever he was discouraged, he would take out an imaginary kiss and remember the love of the child that had put him in there. And that is the heart jerker. I mean, if you didn't feel anything, are you even human? The moral of the story for anyone not keeping up is love is the most precious gift in the world. So those were the short inspirational stories. Some give you a new perspective on life, some can break your heart. But did any of them catch your attention? What about you? You ever heard a story that's caught your attention for whatever reason? Have you had a story like that? Maybe there's a book that's done just that. And sometimes that's all it takes. One book, one sentence, one phrase, one quote, just to give you the motivation or inspiration to get yourself going, to help you take that first step into the unknown. And then you're off into the big wide world. Now, if you need help getting started, or you think there is something that you want to take on head to head, doesn't matter what it is, I want to help you. I want to help you do just that. I want to work with you. Even if you just, it's just that first chat. Now, you can get on the calendar and I'll call you. We can have a chat. We can throw around some ideas. You want to remain anonymous? You're anonymous. We just want to get your dream going, really. And you know where to go, don't you? ldlcall.com or send me a text message on 07801 543 515. We can arrange a time that is good for you. Also, can I give some shout outs to some listeners around the world? Some people that have downloaded the podcast in just January alone. Now, hang on, let's have a look at the old Podbean audience tracking thingy. Once it loads, here we go. Shout out to listeners in the good old UK, over in the US. How about shout outs to the listeners in France, Ireland, India, South Africa, the United Arab Emirates, Germany, Italy, Iraq, Denmark, Panama, Belgium, Australia, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, and Madagascar. The Learn Don't Live brand is truly global. And this month we just hit over 1,000 downloads since launching. Thank you. If you are one of those people who listen, thank you. And that's in big capital letters. I appreciate all your support. Hey, drop me an email, chris@learndon'tlive.com, or drop me a text. And you can find me over social media if you want to search for Learn Don't Live, and let me know if you're listening. I'll give you a shout out on a future episode. And finally, if you can, would you mind leaving me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts? It helps the podcast get some awareness, and other incredible people like yourself can then find it. But for now, big thank you. Thank you big much, as the Teletubbies would say. And I will see you in the next one. Bonjour and good day.
Goodbye.
What? It's over already?
All over.
Thank you for listening to the Learn, Develop, Live podcast. I hope you feel as warm, motivated, and fuzzy inside as I do. You can connect with Chris at LearnDevelopLive.com or on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
I won't say goodbye. I'll just say until we meet again.
Until next time, Join the motivation. 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 Motivation.